Now, the ANC will announce its new National Executive Committee members today, but one of the biggest talking points has been the fact that KZN has no candidate that made the top 7. Will this have an impact on the party's ambitions in 2024? Well, political analyst Mapaseka Muroa unpacks this with us. Good morning, Mapaseka, and thank you very much for your time. I must say as a start, KZN's leadership has made very little of the fact that they don't have representatives on the top 7, stating that your Mpumalangas also don't have anybody representing them. What do you make of just that alone?
Morning, Fundo. I think it's a mistake for them to compare themselves with other provinces, particularly because they are the largest province by delegate numbers. So I think they should have been able to at least get one candidate of theirs in the top 7. But the mistakes that they've made are quite clear. The first thing is that they fielded a candidate for the presidential position. And there's a tradition in the African National Congress that a sitting president gets 2 terms within the ANC. So it was highly unlikely that Dr. Zwelini Mkhize or anyone would actually be able to take that position away from President Matamela Ramaphosa. Another thing is that they didn't field a lot of candidates. Which is a very crucial mistake, because they could have fielded their own candidates for the other positions, like Secretary General, which they could have been able to get. Mdumiseni Ntuli was there, but he was fielded from the Ramaphosa slate initially. So I think they have to reconcile themselves with the fact that they've made mistakes. They need to learn how to compromise. They need to learn how to lobby effectively, and they need to humble themselves in the negotiations, particularly moving forward.
So would you say that they're downplaying the significance of this moment, that for 2 consecutive terms they've had no representative because they don't want us to unpack the real issues, which is perhaps, like you say, humility or the lack thereof?
Absolutely, 100%, which is a mistake, because if you're not reconciling yourself with your mistakes, then you can't learn from them and you can't fix the issue at hand. So, look, I think Zboniso Duma has been one of those individuals that's been able to sort of unify KZN and also call them to order. So he seems to have somewhat of a level head. So he should take this opportune time to actually assess what is going on and to lead from the front to fix it. I mean, you look at the stark differences between Gauteng and KZN. Gauteng fielded candidates for various positions, right? But another key thing is that each one of the candidates actually worked at Luthuli House, which means they had access to the branches. They had access to the people on the ground. So that was an advantage that they had. But of course, KZN really needs to learn from their mistakes if they want anything different in the next elective conference.
Mapaseka, I like that you actually touch on the fact that a significant amount of those top 7 candidates were actually stationed permanently in Luthuli House, because I was about to ask that, is there much to read into the fact that they were there on a full-time basis? Is it that then it gave them that greater advantage because they had the access to the branches, as you say?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, Nomvula Mkonyane, Paul Mashadiles, as well as Dr. Gwen Ramokhoba had that advantage, access to the branches, particularly Dr. Paul Mashadile as SG, because he has that advantage as well of determining which branches actually make it to the elective conference. So that's actually how he emerged, by holding those 3 positions: TG, Deputy Secretary General, and Secretary General. I think that was very, very crucial for their campaigns. But also another candidate, to look at who did quite a great job is the SG, Fikile Mbalula. He did something very interesting, right? We know he's on the left in terms of policy, but also he wasn't divisive. What he chose to do was to not denounce the incumbent president, who traditionally in the African National Congress would retain a 2nd term. So he was actually palatable to both factions within the African National Congress.
And then back to the talking point now. It's 2024. And now, with a lack of representation on the KZN side, what would this new picture mean for the province electoral fortunes?
I think the most important thing is that the political party comes together. We know that, IFP in particular has been punishing the ANC and KZN. But I do think that they need to come together, they need to unite. And President Matamela also has the opportunity to play a role in that. When he, potentially reshuffles his cabinet, he needs to ensure that he includes people from KZN, whether that be in Dumseni Ntuli or someone particularly from the so-called RET faction, so that he can quell the tensions. Because factionalism is problematic, Mfundo. You'll remember that the first decline of the African National Congress was in 2009, and that was at the backdrop of 2007, and that was the most we've seen the ANC divided and factionalized, and then COPE emerged from that. So they need to be careful. They need to be very, very careful in that they unite, particularly for 2024.
Now, on the NEC side, they're voting. We understand that Bathabile Dlamini is back. She's on the ballot. And we're not exactly sure of the status of Andile Lungisa's matter because it was brought to plenary. There were discussions about it. It was put to a vote. I don't believe that happened, but it's been taken to the steering committee, of which Fikile Mbalula is a member. And we understood, at least from last night, that they were yet to deal with that matter. Just on Bathabile Dlamini alone being on the ballot now, what do you make of it?
I think, look, they're trying to unify the party because on one hand, we can speak about accountability, right? These members have to be held accountable. But then on the other side, they also have to seem unified. They need to bring the political party together to ensure that those who feel alienated but are very influential within the political party do feel that they belong. So I think strategically, this is a good move, considering that Mapaseka Dlamini is someone of influence within the African National Congress. But they also need to think about Ntate Ismarashule. They need to think about, other individuals to ensure that they're not alienated. And also what that could potentially mean in 2024 should they feel alienated in the party. So I think unity is very crucial. I mean, you'll remember in the Democratic Alliance, Mfundo, when they had issues in terms of their policy, they weren't really sure which policies, whether they were coming or going. And Ngwenya even left the political party saying, no, but we haven't stuck to the things that we've resolved to. Now we've got new policies. So there was a lot of division, and that actually led to a decline in the Democratic Alliance. So unity is really crucial in a political party.